In a half-hour inaugural address, newly sworn-in President Donald Trump twisted some facts while painting the last few years under his predecessor, Joe Biden, as a time of decline, and promising that, quote, "the golden age of America begins right now," unquote. We also flagged a few falsehoods in Trump's subsequent remarks to supporters in Emancipation Hall in the Capitol.
Instead of taxing our citizens to enrich other countries, we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens.
Trump said, quote, "we will tariff and tax foreign countries to enrich our citizens," unquote. But Trump's proposed tariffs would be paid by U.S. importers, not foreign nations, who often pass such costs on to U.S. consumers through higher prices on products.
Next, I will direct all members of my cabinet to marshal the vast powers at their disposal to defeat what was record inflation and rapidly bring down costs and prices.
He falsely stated that the U.S. recently experienced, quote, "record inflation," unquote, under the Biden administration. Consumer prices have increased at faster rates during multiple other periods in U.S. history. For example, the Consumer Price Index increased by 47.2%, or an average 11.8% per year under the Carter administration, compared with 21% overall under Biden.
The United States, think of this, spent more money than ever spent on a project before and lost 38,000 lives in the building of the Panama Canal.
In a long riff on the Panama Canal, Trump incorrectly claimed that 38,000 American lives were lost during its construction. The figure is less than 1,000, a canal expert said, and later wrongly claimed that China now operates the canal. A Hong Kong-based company manages ports at either end of the canal.
Our country can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency, as recently shown by the wonderful people of North Carolina, been treated so badly.
Citing North Carolina and other states post-Hurricane Helene, Trump misleadingly claimed that the federal government, quote, "can no longer deliver basic services in times of emergency," unquote. FEMA was actively involved in providing food, water, and other supplies, offering more than $344 million in assistance within weeks of the disaster.
And we have something that no other manufacturing nation will ever have, the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on earth, and we are going to use it.
He said the U.S. has, quote, "the largest amount of oil and gas of any country on Earth," unquote. But several other countries have larger estimated oil and natural gas reserves than the U.S. An article by energy experts at the Brookings Institution notes that the U.S. generally ranks between 9th and 11th in the world in the size of its crude oil reserves, while its natural gas reserves rank 4th or 5th.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
Trump blamed high inflation on, quote, "massive overspending and escalating energy prices," unquote. But pandemic relief spending was not the primary factor leading to inflation. The root of the problem was the pandemic itself, which led to economic shutdowns, supply shortages, and increased consumer spending and bank lending. Russia's invasion of Ukraine also pushed up oil prices.
With my actions today, we will end the Green New Deal and we will revoke the electric vehicle mandate.
The president said he will, quote, "revoke the electric vehicle mandate," unquote. But there is no mandate on electric vehicles. The Biden administration finalized rules that require automakers to reduce tailpipe emissions and raise fuel efficiency standards beginning in 2027, but carmakers are free to decide how to comply.
And we are going to bring law and order back to our cities.
Trump said, quote, "we are going to bring law and order back to our cities," unquote. It's worth noting that violent crime has gone down slightly since he left office, according to data from the FBI and other sources. FBI crime statistics released in September showed the number of violent crimes declined 4.3% from 2020 to 2023, and the number of murders and non-negligent manslaughter went down 14.5%.
But provide sanctuary and protection for dangerous criminals, many from prisons and mental institutions that have illegally entered our country from all over the world.
Trump referred to his well-worn claim that many immigrants crossing the border illegally are from, quote, "prisons and mental institutions," unquote. And in remarks after his address, he said, quote, "we don't want the jails of every country in the world virtually being deposited into the United States," unquote. there is no evidence to support that.
2020, by the way, that election was totally rigged, but that's okay. It was a rigged election.
In his post-address remarks in Emancipation Hall, the president continued to insist the 2020 election was, quote, totally rigged, unquote. But as we have written repeatedly, there is no evidence of widespread fraud in the 2020 election. Numerous state and federal judges rejected Trump's claims, saying the Trump legal team provided no evidence of fraud, and election security officials labeled the 2020 election, quote, the most secure in American history, unquote.
And now we would have to go through the process because they destroyed all evidence. They deleted everything. There's virtually nothing left.
Trump also falsely claimed that the House Select Committee that looked into the January 6th Capitol attack, quote, destroyed all evidence, unquote, from its investigation. The committee released an 800-plus page report and additional documentation presenting and analyzing the evidence about what happened that day.
The story with Nancy Pelosi, I offered her 10,000 soldiers. She knows it. She admitted it on tape that her daughter made.
He made the false claim that he, quote, offered 10,000 soldiers, unquote, to protect the Capitol on January 6, 2021, to then House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, wrongly adding that she, quote, admitted it on tape, unquote. Then Acting Secretary of Defense Christopher Miller said there was, quote, no direct order from the president, unquote, to have 10,000 National Guard troops on standby. You can read our full story now, available at our website, factcheck.org.